we're gonna give you the best bicep exercise for size and strength, and we're gonna start right now. So I've always struggled with my bicep size, mainly because my triceps are just so absurdly massive. They make my biceps look like these puny little bumps on my upper arms. Okay, maybe that's not entirely accurate, but one of those main problems is that having small biceps even makes me question my ranking in society and my capability as a father. I've always struggled even to have that mind-muscle connection in my bicep training. That was until I got the absolute best bicep exercise ever created. So do we even know what the biceps are? Do we know what muscles we need to train to really fill out those sleeves? Or if you're not wearing sleeves, to make your arms look decent. Okay, so for starters, we have to look at the biceps first through those two main muscles, okay? The two main heads, actually. And so the biceps brachii is here on our upper arm, on our upper limb. And we're gonna have that short head right on the inside. And that short head is gonna be responsible, one, for stabilizing that shoulder joint, okay? Also for arm flexion when we're in supination. But the other thing is it's gonna be responsible for adduction. Think if I'm laying on my side and I'm adding my hand to my body, okay, that's gonna be my bicep, my short head of my bicep. If I think about the long head, that's gonna be the outside of my bicep here, the longer portion here, okay? So this part will be responsible for abduction, arm flexion and supination, and anything else related to arm flexion in general, okay? Even if we're in this pronated position. So those are the two main aspects behind that upper arm. I like to think about it through 4 different muscles though. That's gonna bring in that third key muscle, and that's gonna be the brachialis, okay? So the brachialis is in through here. If I was really lean and gave you that double back pose here, you'd be able to see right around this part, which you probably can't see, that brachialis. So fortunately, we're gonna have a sweet graphic up on the screen. That muscle is actually the strongest arm flexor because of the way it's draped over our elbow joint. So when we're flexing in any position, it could be supinated, it could be neutral, it could be pronated. When we're in that position, the brachialis is actually the strongest arm flexor. This is gonna be the same muscle that we use when we're doing pull-ups, okay? So if we're doing chin-ups or curl-ups, that's gonna be more of our biceps brachii, the two heads. When we're doing pull-ups, or if we're swimming crawl stroke, that's gonna be the brachialis. That fourth key muscle is gonna be the brachioradialis. So that's gonna be this muscle right here that's sort of draped over the top of our forearm into our elbow. This is another muscle that's really responsible for supination, pronation, a little bit of elbow flexion, and it can add massive size to your entire arm to help you fill out your sleeves. So we know that if we want to train our biceps, we need to think about getting our forearms to curl or to flex towards our humerus, our upper arm, okay? That's a big factor here. Now, we need to think about lever arms, okay? Especially when we think about the brachialis, we know that that's in there. We also know that we have to think about how are we gonna stabilize that shoulder. So that's where sports performance comes into play, is that training biceps can really help shoulder stability, and obviously the power of that arm flexion and arm stability in your elbow flexion, not arm flexion. We also have to think about reps and sets and even rest periods, because in reality, we just want to get swole. And can you believe that 5 years ago, I wrote 2 books called Bize and Trize 1 and 2. They're available at garagestrength.com today as an ebook. Okay, enough of that dorky shit. I just wanna get big. Now, I'm gonna give you a couple exercises that I love to use for big time biceps. And then I'm gonna give you that #1 exercise that you can use to gain mass, size, and some serious strength. Okay, the first movement I love to use is the incline curl, okay? And when I do the incline curl, I even recommend trying to rest that head back. When you do this, just be aware of the position of your shoulders and your pecs and your biceps. Make sure that you can actually do that with mobility. The reason why this movement is so awesome is because of how it isolates the bicep heads, okay, short and long head, and how well it blows you up. The problem is you can't go crazy heavy. The load can't be that heavy. So you can gain a ton of mass, but not a ton of strength. So here, I'm gonna curl up, right? And you can go back down. And if you want, even when you do this, give a little bit of that wrist flexion back, curl back up. guess it would be wrist extension. And you can even go into a neutral grip position here if you want to blow up a little bit more of that brachioradialis. 4 sets of 17 for a crazy pump. Okay, so this next exercise I also love for bicep-based training. Now, the load on this can get pretty freaking heavy because we're doing a compound movement and we're using our prime movers are gonna be our lats, but we're also gonna be targeting the biceps, okay? So this is a really, really good exercise that you can use for mechanical drop sets. You can use this for pre-fatigue, for post-fatigue, whatever it is that you need to get a little bit bigger in those biceps. I love doing 5 sets of 5 weighted and then doing a drop set of 15 to 20 reps. And that's gonna be a chin up or a curl up. So we're here, pull up, you can go down nice and controlled, lengthen, lengthen, lengthen. And when you come up here, try and really squeeze those biceps at the top with your lats. The downfall here is that the isolation isn't as prominent as that incline curl, but the load is significant. Yes, I can't lock out my right elbow. Boo! Okay, this next movement is gonna help with the brachioradialis and the brachialis. Now remember, the brachialis is underneath our bicep heads, the short and the long head. So this is a movement that we need to train, and when we do that double back pose, it will blow up, but it's not gonna isolate our bicep heads as prominently, so we're not gonna have that huge, huge peak. However, the brachialis can help push that peak a little bit higher. This movement is absolutely fantastic for the brachioradialis for massive freaking forearms. What we want to do here, grab a fat bar, and if you don't have a fat bar, you can put towels around it. You can get fat grips, anything like that. We're here, okay? I want to go a little bit of an internal curl here, okay? Then I'm going to come up, curl. And that little bit of a wrist action is going to blow up your brachioradialis. But the whole movement is triggered from the forearm. Boom. And what I recommend doing is you can do this exercise, a little bit heavier. You got 2 10s on each side, right? Let's say you do 9, 10, 11 reps. What you can do then, take off a plate, and then once you want to really burn out, and this is a great movement if you're a wrestler, it's a great exercise if you're in BJJ, and if you're a football player, you have fumbling problems, you need to hold on to somebody, this is an absolutely fantastic exercise to also help improve that grip strength. Boom! Drop that weight, go to failure. Now, before we get to that #1 bicep exercise of all time, upper arm exercise is probably a better term. Make sure that you like, you subscribe, and you ring that notification bell. We're trying to get to 1 million subscribers. The #1 bicep exercise is going to be, let's go a little later, the zottman curl. So when we're doing a zottman curl, okay, we're gonna be in a standing position, ideally standing. I don't mind if you're doing an incline curl with a zottman sort of rotation, and that's gonna be seated. I prefer standing because you're gonna have a little bit greater power output. So I'm gonna get here, I'm gonna supinate up, so I'm gonna elbow flex, I'm gonna rotate down, and that's gonna place a greater eccentric load on my forearms, okay, on my brachioradialis, and a little bit even on my brachialis. So I'm gonna come back up, curl, so I'm gonna isolate those 2 heads, the short head on the inside, long head on the outside. I'm gonna rotate, I'm gonna feel that in my brachialis tremendously right now as I'm holding this. Okay, and then I'm gonna go down nice and easy and try and really target the brachioradialis on the eccentric. This works absolutely phenomenally to blow up those biceps, to train your brachialis, and to blow up your grip strength in your brachioradialis. And that's what makes this the absolute best movement. I recommend doing this once a week, twice a week. It's great for shoulder stability. It's great for elbow co-contractions because of what you're doing with the brachialis and the brachioradialis. It's absolutely fantastic for sports performance and for getting a crazy pump. I'm sweating. Okay, so what athletes can actually use this? So first of all, obviously bodybuilders should be using the zottman curl. And if bodybuilders who lack that forearm size relative to their upper extremity, they should be slaying zottman curls. Now, I also recommend someone like a discus thrower, even a shot putter that has a ton of force on their elbows, on their shoulders. That's where you can use zottman curls. And you can even add in a little bit of that shoulder abduction, a hair, if you need to improve that shoulder stability. I even love having my weightlifters use this movement because they go overhead so frequently. If their biceps are a little bit stronger, that's gonna help that overhead position. If we have offensive linemen or wrestlers, anybody who's grabbing or holding on to something, think about a running back like Nick Singleton, Big Ten Rookie of the Year. You have to have good forearm strength and bicep strength to prevent fumbles, to hold, to grab. Okay, that's where the zottman curl comes into play. Some people ask too, okay, Dane, you know, you do cheat curls a little bit, and we've got an old video way back in the YouTube archives from about 2.5, 3 years ago, where we actually go over the value of cheat curls. We could even redo that video if you comment down below. We'll do a whole video on cheat curls if you want. But one of the reasons why I like to use cheat curls is you can get a little bit heavier load, and then that eccentric portion triggers your brain to recruit more high threshold motor units, in turn helping you get a little bit stronger. So that's one of the main factors here. That's a whole bunch of different information that you can use when you're training for those big time biceps. So for athletics, general fitness, when can we program zottman curls? I recommend day 5. Use it on the hypertrophy day. Okay, you can do 4 sets of 7, 2 drop sets of 17 to 20 reps. Get creative. Think about gaining size and strength. Okay, again, 6 sets is going to get you a massive pump. I even like using it as an accessory early on in sports performance. So if we're in the exposure phase, the comprehension phase, use it as accessories to stabilize that shoulder girdle. So try this exercise today if you want to get massive biceps. And if you want more exercises, make sure you check out this video to keep getting as swole as possible. If you want a personalized strength training program, make sure you head over to peakstrength.app, the Google Play Store, or the Apple App Store and pick up Peak Strength today. Because remember, freaks, if you guys want to become champions, you've always got to cultivate your power. Peace.